Turbos may be the favorite automotive word in recent times, but not everybody is sold on turbo power, especially when the reliability question is asked. For workhorse vehicles, well, engine longevity is a huge factor, hence the appeal of going all-motor. Now, Toyota has an answer for people who want a top-spec Toyota Raize, but it's naturally aspirated, and that is this vehicle right here, the Toyota Raize 1.2G CVT. In this video, we find out if a naturally aspirated Toyota Raize is a better fit for you. Let's do this. Hello guys, I'm Reagan and welcome back to another car feature. If you're new to my channel, I want you to click that subscribe button for your regular dose of Philippine automotive content. If you're my subscriber already, well, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. But first, click that like button. Also, special thanks to Toyota Valenzuela for providing the Toyota Raize 1.2G CVT to do this car feature. If you are within the area and you need any Toyota, head on down here to Toyota Valenzuela and check them out. For any inquiries, you may also contact the person in my pinned comment below. The Raize 1.2G CVT stands as the middle trim in the local Raize lineup, and it has 90% of the tech and features of the top-spec Raize Turbo, but at a lower price. This Raize 1.2G CVT has a retail price of 906,000 Philippine pesos, which is over 100 grand lower than the top-spec Raize Turbo. Well, it does lose out on turbo power, but guys, if you don't need to go fast off the line anyway, well, the Raize 1.2G CVT actually makes better sense. And the reason why this mid-spec Raize G makes better sense than the Raize Turbo is found right here in the front fascia. You see, it gets the exact same front fascia as the Raize Turbo. We got these LED headlights here, LED DRLs, and halogen fog lights. And it even gets those nifty sequential LED turn signals found here. Now, there's a bit of a cripple hammer that's been applied to the mid-spec Raize G because this variant doesn't get those front parking sensors. Only the Raize Turbo gets that. But, well, guys, I love the fact that we get blanks where the front parking sensor should be. So, if ever you want to install like aftermarket front parking sensors in the Raize G, well, it's something that you can easily do as a quick fix. Here on the side, the mid-spec Toyota Raize G shares more features and looks with the base variant Raize E rather than the Raize Turbo. This mid-spec G gets a blacked out A and B pillar here, but the roof is body colored, similar to the base variant Toyota Raize E. However, the mid-spec G gets power folding side mirrors with LED turn signals here, similar to the Raize Turbo. Now, if you take your attention to the wheels, well, the wheels of this mid-spec trim is the same as the ones found in the base model Raize E, which are 16-inch alloy wheels, and they are wrapped in 205/65 R16 tires. Now, when it comes to the mechanical bits of this thing, well, they are the same across the board. We get ventilated disc brakes up front. We still get drum brakes at the back. And for the suspension, we have a MacPherson setup in the front and a torsion beam at the back. Now, when it comes to the ground clearance of the Raize, well, guys, there are reports that says it's 200 millimeters, while I said in my Toyota Raize Turbo that the ground clearance is 185 millimeters. Now, Toyota Motor Philippines pegs it at 200 millimeters in their brochures, but I did find out that there is a Toyota Raize four-wheel drive model available in other countries. And I have a feeling that the 200 millimeter ground clearance is applicable to the four-wheel drive Raize, while the front-wheel drive raised variants we get here in the Philippines still stands at 185 millimeters. But seriously guys, I mean 200 millimeters, 185 millimeters, the difference between those two is like this much. I mean, are we even gonna argue about something so small? Exactly. Now, all of the Toyota Raize in the country gets the exact same rear end, and the same applies to this mid-spec Raize 1.2 G CVT. Now, it also gets these LED taillights here, and it also gets the same plastic claddings found on its rear bumper. Now, when you pop open this manual liftgate here, you get the exact same trunk space as the Raize Turbo, which means that you get 369 liters of cargo capacity, but it shrinks to 300 liters if you put the floorboard on the higher position. You see, this thing is adjustable, guys, as you can see, and you can make it deeper or shallower depending on your needs. Now, when you lift this floorboard, you'll notice that the Raize G, in fact, all the Raize variants in the country, gets a full-size spare tire, which is a rarity in today's times. I mean, that's pretty good, guys. Now, when it comes to the luggage test, I did do this in my Raize Turbo video already, and as you can see, a medium-sized luggage can easily fit into this Raize cargo space, cargo area. You can put one medium-sized luggage here, you can put another hand-carry luggage beside it, and some smaller items on top of those bags. Now, if you need more space than this area, well, the Raize G's back seat also fold flat, so that makes for a truly versatile small crossover. Now, that's exactly what I said in my Raize Turbo video. The mid-spec Raize 1.2 G CVT gets a naturally aspirated 1.2-liter 3-cylinder gasoline motor that puts out 87 horsepower and 113 Newton meters of torque. Now, the power is sent to the front wheels via Toyota's newer D CVT transmission. Now, if you'll notice the engine bay of this thing, since it doesn't have a turbo or an intercooler, well, there's a lot of space to move around in this engine bay, so that gives you a lot of like wiggle room in case you need to work on your engine and do some maintenance. Now, some people are also wondering, how come the top-spec Raize Turbo gets a lower engine displacement of 1 liter, while the base and mid variants gets a higher engine displacement of 1.2 liter? Well, guys, the 1-liter turbo engine of the Raize Turbo, it has the same power output that can be found in, let's say, a 1.5-liter naturally aspirated gasoline motor, but it only consumes fuel at the same level as a 1-liter engine. So that gives you a good amount of power, but also a stellar level of fuel consumption. Now, for the 1.2-liter gasoline motors here, well, it would consume a bit more fuel even if you're just idling or if you're in the traffic situation. So, yeah, it doesn't really do as much power as a turbo, but it consumes a little bit more fuel. Well, that's how it works, guys, in theory, but I will need an actual driving test of the Raize Turbo and the 1.2G to truly prove it to you guys. So I really hope that Toyota Motor Philippines will lend me a Raize Turbo or a 1.2G Raize sometime in the future. But yeah, as I said, in theory, that's how it works. The Toyota Raize 1.2G CVT is the literal middle child in the local Raize lineup because we do get a mix of the features found in the base Raize E and the top-spec Raize Turbo. Now, this mid-spec Raize G CVT, well, gets fabric seats here, but these fabric seats also come with these yummy-looking red piping on the sides of the seats. Now, these red piping features makes these seats look sportier than even the seats found in the Raize Turbo. Now, there are also reports, guys, that says that these seats are pretty comfortable, and yeah, after sitting in this like a second time around already, I will have to agree with those reports. Yes, these seats are a perfect balance of comfort and bolstering, and support as well. Now, when we move over to the steering wheel of this thing, well, we do get a leather-wrapped steering wheel here, but we lose out on the paddle shifters. But guys, it doesn't really matter because normally, yeah, paddle shifters in a DCVT transmission is really more like a gimmick than anything else. Now, when you check out the movement of the wheel, well, it also tilts, but it doesn't telescope. Yeah, pretty similar to the Raize Turbo. And when you look over to your instrument gauge cluster, well, this instrument gauge cluster is the exact same layout and format as the one found in the Raize Turbo. This is a digital instrument gauge cluster here, which has all of these nice designs and all that, guys. But I don't know why, for the life of me, Toyota still doesn't give it an engine temperature gauge. That's right, guys. We have a fully digital instrument gauge cluster here, but it doesn't come with an engine temperature gauge. So maybe because this is a Toyota and it doesn't really break down, so they don't see the need to put an engine temperature gauge. Yeah, maybe. Now, when it comes to the safety bits of this thing, well, as you can see on your screen, this mid-spec Raize 1.2G shares the same safety features that are found in the base variant Raize E. So yeah, we only have the basic bits right there. Now, when you turn your attention to the infotainment screen, we have here a tad bit smaller, smaller by an inch versus the Raize Turbo. This is an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system here in a housing that reminds me of a 1990 CRT TV. Yeah, it's still that same Toyota housing that we've come to know from the past Toyotas. But it does come with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and this system powers a set of 6 speakers, similar to the Raize Turbo, which it's a little bit better than the 4 speakers found in the base model Raize E. Now, we also have the image of a reverse camera here, so yeah, that's also a nifty feature. Now, when you go down from your infotainment system, we have here a fully automatic climate control setup, and we also have an engine start-stop button right there. Now, we also have here a manual handbrake, guys. And yeah, just like in my Raize Turbo, yeah, the Raize Raize Turbo video, the video feature, the Raize G has the cup holders found underneath the side AC vents right there. And yes, it doesn't fit my clean canteen, so I didn't even bring it with me in this video. Now, we also have, if you notice, we have a center armrest here, and guys, it's leather padded. Yeah, so that's pretty good. We also have a manual handbrake, and when it comes to the cabin materials of this thing, well, this is a Toyota. So yeah, you can expect hard plastics all throughout. Yeah, we got hard plastics everywhere. But the addition of that red piping on the seats gives this Raize G a bit more of a sporty flair than even its Raize Turbo sibling. The Raize 1.2G CVT's backseat is exactly the same as the one found in the entire local Raize lineup, which means that we get 0 toys and amenities here at the back. Now, when it comes to the space, well, there's good enough space here for 2 average Asian adults. Now, if you want to have a full description of the backseat of the local Toyota Raize, well, you can click the link above, I think it's here, for my feature on the top-spec Toyota Raize Turbo. The Raize 1.2G CVT seems to be a happy middle child in the local Toyota Raize lineup. It has just enough tech and convenience features that keeps it close to the Raize Turbo, but it also has some reduced performance and safety features to keep the price low. Now, if the turbo, the extra airbags, and that extra 1-inch on the touchscreen infotainment system real estate is not worth 100,000 pesos to you, well, guys, as I said at the start of this video, this mid-spec Raize 1.2G CVT makes better sense. Or, if you like a Raize in the color red, well then, guys, this is your only choice. Anyway, thanks for watching.